Xbox On. Welcome to Xbox On, a podcast with one host about one console, Xbox. I'm said host Jesse DeRosa, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about the latest Xbox news for the week of January 9th, 2025, including the year is starting off quiet, so let's talk about all the smaller, more recent developments that are happening while the holidays passed and since then. Also, I've been spending many hours gaming and must confess my new appreciation for Marvel Rivals. Finally, our first batch of listener comments are here for 2025 and more. On this week in Xbox history, in the year 2012, 13 years ago, Trailer Park King Episode 2 was released as an Xbox Live Indy release for the Xbox 360 worldwide. You know what that game is. I know you know what that game is. Guys, welcome to episode 293 of the Xbox On podcast. Parksy writes in and says, "Hi, Jesse. Forgot to say this last week and almost forgot again this week, but Happy New Year." Well, Parksy, and to all of you, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2025. This is the first episode I've recorded in 2025. So this is like real, you know, like we're days into the year. There's no 2024 bullshit lingering behind. We're here. We've wiped the 2024 ass, and we have a fresh, clean. All right, let's already fucking stop what we're doing. Clearly my New Year's resolution wasn't to be a little more or a little less vulgar on the podcast. But hey, guys, welcome to Xbox On. I'm glad to be here with you. Glad to hear that you're all here. Glad that you all definitely came back. You're all, you know, warmed and cozy in your PJs, and you're on the couch, and you're listening to me through your Amazon Alexa, and she's like, "Oh, what do you want?" And you're like, "Play Xbox On, the latest episode, the podcast about one host." And then you're like, "Yes." And then your mom walks in the room. She's like, "What are you listening to?" And you're like, "Shut up, Mom. It's Xbox On." And she shuts up because it's Xbox On. Why would she talk? And that's you. That's you listening on the couch. And so thank you for being here. And that brings me to my next comment here. MM6D writes in and says, "I would totally co-host if you're looking for someone. Would be fun." Now, I think that's in relation to some passerby comment I made last week about needing a co-host. Listen, here's the honest to God truth about the co-host situation that no one's ever asked about, that you have now insinuated or you brought, I don't know, you brought attention to by even writing in. Here's the thing about the co-host. I fundamentally believe Xbox On would be a better show if it had a co-host. And the reason for that, and I used to vacillate between the two opinions, because in the old days I said, no, Xbox On has to be a show with one host because it's supposed to be so fucking stupid and mind-numbingly ridiculous because of my shenanigans and my antics, that having another co-host would kind of ruin it, because they would bring too much normalcy, which would then kind of bring me down, because I feel like I'm the kind of person where, like, my energy and my attitude is very much, you know, you kind of match to the people you're with. So if I'm talking to someone and they're undoubtedly less ridiculous than I am, then the show will become more tame, and then it's just another Xbox podcast. And if that's what you're looking for, there are plenty of better Xbox podcasts out there. But if you're looking for a schizophrenic man in his boxers to tell you what he thinks about, you know, fucking the next game coming from Rareware, then this is the place to be. You know, if you want to listen to some mentally unfit person tell you what to think about YouTubers saying that Game Pass is profitable when you in fact know for not a fact that it's not profitable. Listen, this is just that. So that was the first part. The second part is, or the second opinion was, well, I think if I had a co-host, it would help the podcast, because one, I need someone to help keep things on track, and two, it would help me to be able to think better. Sometimes every podcast host feels this. Everyone feels this way. You probably feel it if you give a presentation at school or work, or you make, you know, whatever it is in life. You have a moment where you know you have to speak, you know you have to say something, and you plan for it, and you think about it, and you prepare for it, and then you do it, and you always go, fuck, I did that better in my head, or I did that better when I practiced it in the shower, or I did it better when I was driving and I was just thinking about it in my head. Everyone's that way, and I know I'm that way. I'm the kind of person who I'll be driving like in complete silence sometimes, just brain turned off after a long day of work, and I'll just be like thinking about something really stupid and random about Xbox. And I'll be like, man, I have such an eloquent opinion about this very specific topic. And, in my head, I'll be saying like using all these flowery words and building complex ideas. And then I get home after a long day and I'm exhausted. And I sit down in front of the microphone and I have no co-host to break up the silence. It's just me talking for like 90 minutes straight. And the same topic that I was thinking about in the car will come up, and it's like, oh, Xbox said that game sales are down 80%. I'll be like, Xbox is stupid, and you're stupid, and then I end up always saying something really dumb, like Disney has a theme park, and they got phones on Android now. And then it's just like, I turn around when I'm editing, I'm like, what the fuck was I saying? This is like all made sense in my head when I was driving home for 60 fucking miles straight. But that's the other side of it. I'm like, would it be a more organized, better, more cogent show if we had a co-host? Probably. But here's the thing. Xbox On works because it's so uniquely stupid the way I do this podcast that it couldn't be done with a co-host. It just the scheduling, the timing of it's not replicable because I'm the only fucking person I know who doesn't do podcasting professionally, who treats this like it's his job. Like I'm so obnoxiously religious about this. Like I need it a little bit behind the scenes, like unnecessary inside baseball on this podcast. You have no idea how many fucking relationship arguments I had with my girlfriend over the years, over the podcast. When we used to live in the apartment, the 1-bedroom apartment, dude, it was fucking rough. There were times where I was like, is my stupid podcast going to break up my relationship? Because it's like, it would be like, hey, we live in this tiny 800 square foot apartment. I need you to go sit in the room in silence for 2 hours while I talk to nobody about Xbox. And it was like, I need complete silence. We can't have interference with the recording. I'm very religious about the show. That's why it's, we're almost 6 years into the podcast. I've never skipped a week, no matter what I have going on in my personal life. If I'm on vacation, if I have family in town, if I'm sick, doesn't matter. The podcast always happens. I treat this podcast like someone would treat a podcast if they actually like had a job that, like if this was my job, if this is like what I did professionally. But it's not. It's like my little side hobby thing. And the fact of the matter is, like, you can't juggle the two. I can't be like working 60-hour work weeks and like grocery shopping and cooking dinner and spending time with the girlfriend and like having the full life, and then also be like coordinating with the co-host, finding a day to record, finding a day to talk about the notes. Oh, does this work for you? Oh, okay. I was thinking about this idea. Like that adds a whole new layer of coordinating and organization, and just it wouldn't work. Like, this podcast is so fucking ridiculous. I get home from work at like 7:00. And I'm like, all right, time to record for 3 hours and then edit for 2 hours and then get this shit up by tomorrow morning, because I insist on recording it the night before. I don't want to miss any news. I don't know. That's me just being really OCD and anal about this podcast. But that's the real honest to God truth. Because like, it's like, have I thought about a podcast, a co-host, like improving the show? Yeah. Would it make sense? No, it's logistically impossible. It's just, I've ruled it out. It's not happening. And I think if we had a co-host, I think the obvious selection would probably be Cronky, because he's my brother. He's been supporting the show since the day it began, and I think he and I are both very much like-minded when it comes to a lot of our feelings and thoughts about video games. But our tastes are different enough that I think we would complement each other well, where like I would be like, guys, I'm playing Fortnite. I'm playing Sonic the Hedgehog in Fortnite. And then he would be like, okay, well, I'm playing a world strategy game, and I'm playing a Japanese role-playing game, and now I'm playing Dark Souls. It'd be great. We can play all the games that each other hates, and then we can like get along on like the Xbox stuff. Like, we both love Halo. We both love Obsidian games. We both love fucking when Joanna Dark actually makes a video game and isn't just a fucking vaporware project for a decade. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like that would be the obvious answer, and it would just be easiest to coordinate and make that happen. But that being said, it's never going to happen. It will never happen. I'm just, dude, there have been a couple times where we've done special episodes where I'll ask a friend or my brother or someone to be like, hey, do you want to be on the podcast for this week? And that alone takes out so much energy from me. Not possible. It's never going to happen. So anyway, long story short, Xbox On co-host? No, never. MM6D. That being said, I appreciate you writing in. I appreciate you honoring. Honestly, I do feel like, though, if you do, like, you stepped up to the plate when I mentioned it last week, and you wrote in, you took the time to write in and say, hey, totally, I'd be your co-host if you're looking for someone. And that alone, I think, deserves some kind of military type honor, some kind of pin, some kind of award akin to a Purple Heart, so that people know that you are a brave soldier who would be so daring as to, dedicate your life and volunteer your time to this podcast. And I think that alone is commendable. And by virtue of saying that, I think everyone who's ever listened to this podcast deserves a medal for coming out on the other end. Now, here's the thing is like, you think about like the number of people who've written in the podcast over the years versus the number of people who've ever checked out the show. I mean, we're talking about like, 1%, less than 1% of people who've ever listened to this podcast have written in and commented. That's not a very large sample population. Like, we don't know the number of people who have listened to this podcast, and not after the fact, but more so directly as a result of having listened to the podcast, have then proceeded to die. So again, has everyone made it through a full episode of Xbox On? I'm not so sure that's the case. Think about all the people that used to write in that don't write in anymore. What's more likely? They just don't have the time to comment, or they just don't listen to this podcast anymore because they are interested in other things now, or they died because they listened to the podcast and the podcast killed them. They could not withstand 90 plus minutes of mediocrity. That's highly plausible. Anyway, guys, thank you for entertaining some opening banter. Now, the other thing I thought of, actually, just a closing thought, there was one more thing I thought about. A fun way to do, I think, a podcast host type of thing would be like Andrew WK, like the music artist Andrew WK. I don't know too much about Andrew WK. I just know that it was like really funny. Like he was really there was like this really funny bit he did where like he would play like you'd be at an Andrew WK concert. It was like a rock band, right? And there would be like a guy on stage, like a doppelganger or like an actor, pretending to be the lead frontman, the guitarist and singer, Andrew WK, and he would be up there on stage playing, and then the actual Andrew WK would be in the audience, like he'd be in the crowd with all the fans, and he'd be like moshing and pumping his fists and singing along to the songs and stuff. I feel like that would be a more like a way more interesting idea, is if rather than having a co-host, I hired someone who sounds like me to do to pretend to be me and do Xbox On. You know, some guy named Jake, and he's like, "Hey guys, it's Xbox On. I'm Jesse. I really like Sonic the Hedgehog, and it's not a furry thing." And and then like I'm in the audience like commenting in as PlayStation is better, fuck you 69, and I'm like, "Oh Jesse, you're a piece of shit. Also, here's a racist comment," because for some reason we've been getting a lot of those lately. And then I just like comment in like that, and then like no one knows that I'm really Jesse and that's not really that idea. I'll make the time for that idea. If someone wants to step up to the plate and say, "Hey Jesse, I'll record a 2 to 3 hour podcast pretending to be you, and you can write in pretending to be a drive-by commenter," I will fucking take that deal all day. Let's go. All right, let's move on, guys. Notable game releases. It's January 8th as of the time I'm recording this. There's nothing notable happening. Actually on PlayStation there are some notable games, but nothing on Xbox. So just go back to Indiana Jones. And corrections, updates, no, none. We're not starting the week off that way. We're not starting the year off that way. So what I've done here is there's a lot of news to get through. I mean, like we got like a dozen stories to get through, but there's nothing like boom. So I was like, you know what? I feel like it would be more fun to just do like a really extended, mildly amusing story segment. So instead of like a main news segment and a mildly amusing segment, we'll just do like one really long, mildly amusing segment, and then we'll get into the what I've been eating, what I've been playing, and comments. So actually, let's do it the other way around. Let's do what I've been eating, what I've been playing, then all the news, and then we'll get into listener comments, and we'll wrap it up that way. I think that sounds like a good idea. What do you guys think? It's like Dora the Explorer. You don't say shit. Let's get into, I guess normally we'd say, hey, here's the games I've been playing. But before I can tell you about the games I've been playing this week, which I'm excited to talk to you about because we got Indy, we got Banter. I got a lot to talk about. Marvel Rivals. I want to tell you first about what I've been eating. I think it's a good way to start the year. So I called this, what did I call this? Chicken Wars Part 2. So I don't know. I don't know what this thing is. Like when I was growing up in Georgia, we had Zaxby's, right? And Zaxby's is an institution. Well, no, that's not true. It's not an institution. It's a well-known chain because it's just always been there. But it's kind of like I feel like Zaxby's was like a C or a D tier fast food restaurant growing up. Like, of course, everyone knows McDonald's and stuff like that. But it's like after your Burger Kings, after your Taco Bells and your Wendy's and your Chick-fil-A's and all that, it's like Zaxby's was kind of far down the list for most people. Not in that it wasn't good, but in that it's like, I don't know, it just didn't get that much attention. There weren't that many of them. But Zaxby's, I think, is from Georgia. I'm not sure about that. I think it is. But they're pretty common, where I'm from. I don't think I had Zaxby's for the first time until I was like 13 years old or something. I existed for quite a while before I even had a Zaxby's chicken tender. But anyway, whatever. I like Zaxby's. Zaxby's is good shit. There's been this weird chicken arms race in recent years where like the Zaxby's style restaurant where it's like chicken tenders, crinkle cut fries, some kind of zesty, creamy signature dipping sauce, and like a piece of like toast or coleslaw or something like that. That combo has become such a trendy thing in fast food. And now I know the big one and the one that kind of really kicked off this trend is Raising Cane's. And I know Raising Cane's isn't new by any means. They just recently expanded. So Raising Cane's, I think, is from like Louisiana or Mississippi, or I think it's from like Louisiana or one of the Carolinas or Tennessee. It's from somewhere in the real America, not Florida, the real America. And anyway, we had a couple in Georgia. They're like in Athens, or like in UGA or some shit like that. We don't have them like in real Georgia where people live. So I never had Raising Cane's growing up. And then I remember there was someone who used to write in the podcast all the time. I don't remember who, but someone used to always write in when we talk about fast food and be like, Jesse, you got to try Raising Cane's, whatever. Well, in the past like 2 years, I would say Raising Cane's has blown up. I don't know about the rest of the country. Write in if you live in like Delaware, but like in Florida, Raising Cane's is everywhere. It's so popular. They've opened like, dude, they literally have opened, I want to say 3 of them within 15 miles of my house. And they all opened within like a 4 month, a 4 month like period. It was like back to back to back. Anyway, so of course you're gonna try Raising Cane's, see what all the hype is about. The internet loves Raising Cane's. My girlfriend tried it with me. She fucking loved it. Actually, we tried it for the first time when her family was in town, and her sisters were obsessed with it. They're young. They're like between like 13 and 20, and they're all like TikTok age, and so they're like, oh my god, Raising Cane's is so good, oh cane sauce, oh all that shit. So like everyone, I'm with all these people and everyone loves Raising Cane's, and I ate it. I was like, this is really fucking good. Like I like this place, but I don't think it's any better than Zaxby's. I think it's like just as good, but this one has all this arbitrary hype. What's that about? And then I find out there's this place we have here in Florida called Huey Magoo's. This place has been around for a while, I assume. I don't know. There's one that it's like a minute from my old apartment. So it's like 10 minutes from my house. It's pretty close to where I live. And so I tried that out one day a couple years ago, and I was like, I think this place might be better than Zaxby's. It's pretty fucking good. It's like if it was Zaxby's or Raising Cane's, but like it tried to push more of like a clean, friendly, high quality Christian kind of thing that like Chick-fil-A does. It's like the weird cross of like if Raising Cane's was owned by Chick-fil-A. And I like Huey Magoo's a lot, actually. I think their chicken's way superior, and they have tons more sauce options, and they're all really good. So that happened. And then we got this place a couple months ago, a few minutes from our house, called Slim Chickens. And I'm like, what the fuck is Slim Chickens? And so we went there a couple weeks ago and had to try that out. And Slim Chickens' whole slant on it is like, hey, we're like Raising Cane's or Zaxby's, but you can also get chicken wings here, which I think Zaxby's also has chicken wings, but like this place kind of emphasizes it like we're like Raising Cane's meets Wingstop. So like if you want Raising Cane's and your friend wants Wingstop and you can't decide, come to Slim Chickens and we'll give you both restaurants in one. So we tried that place out. And then we finally tried this past week the one place I've been one of these types of restaurants I've been trying to get to for years, because I knew they didn't have them in Georgia when I lived there, and I knew Florida had them. And like I remember like the theme park people, like on like the Disney Twitter nerds and shit, would rave about, like 10 years ago when this was kind of a relatively new chain, people would rave about this place called PDQ, which is actually from North Carolina. But it's a similar thing. It's like a Raising Cane's. You got the tenders and they do waffle fries instead of crinkle fries, but you get the piece of toast, you get the coleslaw, you get the sweet tea, whatever. It's the same fucking concept. They also do chicken sandwiches, kind of like Zaxby's and stuff. But whatever, it's the same idea. So we finally had the opportunity to try one. They had one in Claremont, so we were up in Claremont for some reason because we were pretending to be healthy and hiking. And we stopped by PDQ and finally ticked this place off the list. First of all, got to give a shout out. PDQ, their tea, sweet tea, unsweetened tea, it's Joffrey's tea. Joffrey's best tea. So right off the bat, PDQ gets bonus points for carrying Joffrey's tea. Joffrey's is a coffee company out of Tampa, Florida that I absolutely adore. They are the official coffee company or coffee provider for Disney theme parks and resorts. So you may have seen Joffrey's coffee if you've ever been to like Disneyland in California or Disney World in Florida. Fucking awesome. I love their coffee. I love their tea. So instant bonus points for that. But
This place is awesome. Like this place has been like high on my list of like fast food places I've never checked out, but want to give a go. And I personally feel like this place mostly lived up to the hype. Let's get the bad out of the way, because there's really only one negative thing I had to say about this restaurant. The signature sauce, cane sauce, Zaxby's sauce, Slim sauce, whatever the fuck this place calls it, PDQ sauce, whatever. It's like all the other ones. It's like a pinkish creamy sauce, a zesty, ketchupy kind of peppery aioli type sauce. PDQ's is a little weird because they definitely put horseradish cream in it, and it's like way more prominent than I'd like. You can really taste the horseradish, and I don't like that. I'm not a horseradish fan. It's just not my thing. The only time I can get away with it is like if you're in like prime rib and you got like the au jus and a little bit of that like creamy horseradish, this cream sauce, not like the actual like ground up root. Yeah, whatever, that's fine. But like, I was not a fan of the sauce. I feel like horseradish is very much like a beef type sauce, not a chicken sauce also. So that kind of threw me off. But yeah, that was my one gripe. Otherwise, I like this place. I like the theming. I like the vibe. I like the menu. I think their chicken's really good. I think their other sauces are awesome. They have tons of different sauces. Sauces are great. Waffle fries, way better than Chick-fil-A's waffle fries. And waffle fries in general just being way better than crinkle cut fries. So that's a huge win there. Their toast was actually pretty weak. I forgot about that. Their toast sucked. Their toast tasted like a freezer aisle Texas toast that you buy at like Walmart. So that sucked. But the chicken, the important thing was good. The chicken was good. All the other sauces were good. I tried a garlic. One of them was like a garlic cream sauce. That shit was good. Or it was like a garlic ranch, and that was awesome. And the fries, the chicken, and the sauce were good. What else could you ask for? And they had Joffrey's tea, so I'm a very big fan of PDQ right off the bat for that. So I thought about it. I was like, I think that's all of them. I'm sure there are some other ones. I wonder if you could count Chicken Guy as one of them. Chicken Guy at the Guy Fieri restaurant. I don't really think that counts. I think it's close, but it's not exactly what these kinds of restaurants are. But anyway, so I narrowed it down to these 5, and I said, all right, let's rank them now, because I know everyone's so fucking crazy. Everyone's goo goo gaga for Raising Cane's. I think Raising Cane's is good, and here's the general consensus is I've had all 5 of these places now, and I like them all. I think they're all good, but some are better than other. And so here's my ranking as of now. I feel like this is subject to change just because my number 1 pick I technically haven't had in a very long time, and maybe if I had it with the recent experience of all these other restaurants, maybe it would rank differently based on my preferences now. I don't know. But here's how I rank them, and I just thought I'd do this here because the chicken wars are out of control. TikTok and the internet, they won't stop with the Raising Cane's and the cane sauce. They don't really seem to be focused on anything other than Raising Cane's, but I'm super fixated on the fact that all these restaurants exist and people keep, fucking like I don't know, it's just like the chicken finger with signature sauce thing. Oh, KFC just opened one here in Orlando. They have one now. It's called, I forget what they call it, but it's from some fucking spin-off KFC restaurant. It's the same thing. It's the chicken tenders and the signature sauce and the fucking toast and fries. Anyway, fuck that place. We're going to just rank these 5. So my number 1 still is Zaxby's. I'm a believer that Zaxby's and Raising Cane's kind of go toe-to-toe. The difference is Zaxby's chicken is way better than Raising Cane's, and Raising Cane's has better sauce than Zaxby's. But here's the thing. It's simple logic. The chicken, if only one thing can be superior, it has to be the chicken. The meat itself, the protein itself, has to be better than the sauce you dunk it in, because otherwise you're not a fan of Raising Cane's chicken. You're a fan of Raising Cane's sauce. You might as well just save yourself the fucking money, go to Raising Cane's, buy their sauce, and then go to a cheaper restaurant like Zaxby's and go get better chicken. That's my personal opinion. So I still think Zaxby's is number 1. Maybe that's just a little bit of like a comfort thing because Zaxby's is a place I kind of somewhat grew up with. It was a big restaurant for me in high school. It's after school when you get your license and your friends got a car or whatever, and you're like, fucking go to Zaxby's after. That's a thing. I don't know. Maybe it's just a warm, fuzzy memory thing, but I like Zaxby's, and I think Zaxby's has kick-ass salads also. Salads are really good. So that still ranks number 1 for me personally. At number 2, I put Huey Magoo's. I think Huey Magoo's is amazing. Their chicken's so good. Their sauces are so good. Their fries are meh. Their bread's really good. Their service is really good. The people that work there are always super nice. It's that Chick-fil-A thing where they're like, "Sir, can I wipe your ass for you?" Like where like the teenage girl's like way too nice to you because it's like Christian or something like that, and they want to go to heaven. So I like Huey Magoo's. Nice people, very clean restaurant, very high quality fast food for whatever that means. So that's my number 2. Number 3, I'm going to put PDQ You got the fucking Joffrey's tea. The chicken's really good. Waffle fries are a big bonus. Sauces are kind of hit or miss. Your toast sucks, but I like the atmosphere. I like the place. It's a fun place. I'm happy to have it here. And yeah, I think it's pretty good. Not the best, but definitely a solid contender. And then number 4, I'm going to put Raising Cane's. Listen, Raising Cane's, your sauce is just as good as everyone says it is. It's a really awesome sauce. I actually like the service at Raising Cane's. The people are super friendly there. I like that every time you pull up to the drive-thru at Raising Cane's, they make a funny joke. I can't think of one right now, but one time I went up to the drive-thru and I think a girl said something to the effect of like, "Cluck, cluck, cluck, welcome to Raising Cane's. How can I help you?" I'm like, that's fucking awesome. Bonus points for that. So I'm a fan of Raising Cane's. I appreciate the appreciation for the brand. I just don't think it lives up to the hype quite, to the extent of the internet's opinion, but it is good and, whatever. I'd eat it any day. I told my girlfriend, we were kind of ranking them together and she definitely takes Raising Cane's over all the others. And I was like, listen, just because Raising Cane's ranks towards the bottom for me doesn't mean I don't like it. If I said, can we get Zaxby's? Can we get PDQ? Can we get whatever? And you were like, no, I want Raising Cane's. I'd be like, okay, fine. I don't give a shit. They're all good. They're all fine. Really, I think it kind of comes down more to like which one's closest to you, and that's the one you should go with. Now, the one I put in last place is easily Slim Chickens, without a doubt. And that one kind of pains me a little bit because this one's so conveniently located next to my house. And because I love the idea that you can get chicken wings here. And because the crazy thing about Slim Chickens is the boned-in buffalo chicken wings are actually fucking good here. There's no reason why fast food chicken wings should be good, but these were really good. So they got the hard part right. They got the chicken wings right, but they fucked up on the chicken tenders. I mean, these chicken tenders taste like frozen chicken. Like, I mean, they're probably all frozen, but like these taste like Tyson grocery store freezer aisle chicken tenders. They're really shitty. They're really bad. Their sauces were good. Not as good as Cane sauce, but their sauce was good. Their fries were actually pretty good as well. I like their French fries a lot. So it's like they got everything right except the main attraction. It's kind of like the issue I have with Raising Cane's. It's like, oh, your sauce is so good. Why is your chicken so bland? But this place wasn't like your chicken was bland. This place is like your chicken is like freezer burned dog shit chicken. But the wings were good. The fries were good. Everything else, I want to like it, but it ranks dead last. So shout out to Zaxby's and Huey Magoo's there at the top spot. That's, as far as I'm concerned, I think that's how the chicken wars should end. But we'll see. Maybe there are other contenders who enter the ring in the coming months or years. We'll have to just wait and see. I mean, Florida, God, Central Florida is such a fucking hotbed for fast food chains. I love it. It's one of the things I absolutely adore about living here. We get fucking Portillo's and all the fun places that you don't get elsewhere. So it's like it's great. Anyway. I love how I made it sound like I was going to list like 5 awesome fast food chains we get here. And I was just like Portillo's and the end. Anyway, but so that's it for what I've been eating. Shout out to PDQ. You were good. Shout out to Zaxby's for taking the belt. All right, let's move on from what I've been eating to what I've been playing. That's the first thing of the year to talk about for food. Shout out to fried chicken. So good. All right, now we get into what I've been playing. This is really what the bulk of the show should be about. Because I mean, God, so many games. So it sucks because I feel like I could have long conversations about all 3 of these games, but there's only so much time in the world. And this is really like a recap of what I've been playing the past 3 weeks, because the past couple episodes we haven't talked about what I've been playing because we've been doing special episodes, the top, these are my favorite games of the year, and this is what we're expecting in 2025. So this is the first normal episode we've really had in like 3 weeks. So this is really covering what I've been playing for most of the holiday season and the past week. So with that said, let's kind of just do them in order. So I did finally wrap up and beat Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And the consensus I have on this game is I fucking adore this game. I think it's such a special game. I love it. I think they nailed the ending. They stuck the landing, as they say. What am I trying? My thing about this game is it's an excellent game. I think it was really ballsy and really cool to see them be like, hey, here's this IP that inspired games like Uncharted and Tomb Raider. And they have every excuse in the world to be like, let's just go make one of those games because, those things are just knockoff Indiana Jones. So let's just be Indiana Jones in that play space. But instead of doing that, Machine Games was like, no, we have a way better idea. We're going to make something completely different. And we get this European immersive sim type game that has like this Dishonored vibe to it. and it's like stealthy and it's first person and there's a lot of exploration and there's like quasi open world type stuff. And there's just a lot of like adventuring around in this game, and it's so fucking cool. I love that. It's so funny because it's like, you know, I'm not the person to determine what true Indiana Jones would look or feel like in a video game, but this game did such a great job of pointing out to me that making a game like Uncharted or Tomb Raider and calling it Indiana Jones would be such an obvious low-hanging fruit and thing to do, but it would so underserve this brand, this IP. And what they did in place of that, what they made here, is a game that really explains to people like me and the audience at large, this is what Indiana Jones should be like in the form of a video game. Because this game feels so cinematic in a way that those games don't. And it's like, you know, Uncharted's a very cinematic game, probably one of the most influential games in terms of this modern transition to more cinematic games in general. But the way this game is so cinematic is the way it really just naturally feels like another Indiana Jones movie. It just feels like if they made a fourth Indiana Jones movie back in the day, it would have been more or less this story, this game. And it's just everything from the writing and the performances to the subject matter and like where the story goes, and it's the sound effects. It's like the way the whip sounds and the punches are thrown. It's the comedic timing. It's how like comic mischief this game is, you know, with its violence and its cartoonishness, because Indiana Jones has that weird kind of like campy, comic-y kind of like thwip whap punch pow kind of thing. And it's just like, so, you know, Indiana Jones is goofy, right? It's like a guy hides behind a wall. He's pretty detectable, but you know, it's like the Nazis don't see him, and then he runs away and he can like put up a fight against a group of Nazis and then like run away from the boulder and throw the whip at the thing and swing across the bridge. It's like, it's crazy, wacky, goofy, cartoonish shit, Indiana Jones. And I feel like this game really understands that and nails the balance of not making it seem like childish and goofy and silly, but also not taking the franchise too serious, which is, I think, a huge problem. Like, I think that's one of my big gripes with modern Star Wars, is it's kind of everything in general, but where it's like the brand takes itself way too seriously, where it's like, this is a very mature IP for a very mature audience. It's like, no, it's fucking not. Indiana Jones was a movie, you know, it's for all ages, but, you know, it's a movie that spoke to the hearts and minds of like kids and teens and stuff. And I feel like this game doesn't try to be too mature and serious of an Indiana Jones story, which, you know, I feel like if that's a criticism I had of like the most recent Indiana Jones movie, where it took its brand too seriously, in a sense with its I don't know, maybe with its tone and stuff like that. But I just feel like this game really captures and nails Indiana Jones. I mean, that being said, though, here's the tough part about this game. It's the conversation around it and the impact this game will have. I think Xbox has undoubtedly the biggest hit on their hands with this game since, I mean, God, really, like, think about the last Xbox game that like really made an impact. It's like, God, what was it? What was the last Xbox game that came out and like didn't piss off some subset of people or like fuck up the franchise in some way? It's like, was it Gears of War 3? Like, what the fuck was it? How long has it been? You know, because it's like Halo 4 was huge, but it kind of began the you know, pissing people off about Halo, and Gears 4 and 5 had people divided, and then, you know, Forza's like, yeah, it's Forza, come on, that's not what we're talking about. And Quantum Break and Sunset Overdrive, and these games didn't light the world on fire. And then you look at like the Xbox One generation, it's like Halo Infinite and Starfield weren't it. Like, they were big games, but like, and then they ruined the franchises or pissed people off or something. Like, Xbox hasn't had a game that people just love. Like, I think about like on PlayStation, it's like God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man. These are games that came out, they got tons of attention, sold millions and millions of copies, and people unanimously were just like, yo, that's a badass game. I feel like Xbox hasn't had, like, I've had games like that with Xbox. I feel that way about Sunset Overdrive and Quantum Break and Halo 4 and 5, and I feel that way about Starfield. I love Starfield. Like, I've had Xbox games like that for quite a while, but I feel like the general audience hasn't had Xbox present them with a first-party AAA video game, like big holiday title, that has served this market in a long time. But Indiana Jones, it really is that game. It's a big IP. It's a super excellent game. Everyone who plays it loves it. There's really no negativity or criticism or like outrage or backlash surrounding this game. The only thing about it, the only requirement it doesn't seem to quite satisfy, is that I don't think this game's fucking selling. Obviously Game Pass cannibalizes the fuck out of the sales on Xbox, but I don't think people are playing this game on PC either. It seems like the Steam sales charts or the Steam player charts were pretty meager. A couple thousand people at most playing this game during peak hours or during its peak concurrence. It just, we'll get into it more in the news, but Game Pass just always cannibalizing Xbox physical game sales, and then Xbox doesn't talk about, numbers. They don't go, oh, well, since Indiana Jones launched, 1.3 trillion people have engaged with the game on Game Pass. No one said that. So it's like, as far as we know, this game's like kind of not been a huge hit. It's been a critical hit, but I don't think it's been a huge commercial hit. And, we'll see what happens when it comes to PlayStation. Maybe PlayStation can save it because they have a huge install base and a lot of people like to buy games on PlayStation as opposed to Xbox. So maybe that helps. Maybe that turns it around. But the thing is, you look at like Xbox and getting involved in an IP. Indiana Jones, it is a big IP. It's a recognizable IP, but it's not Spider-Man, So like, even though I think Xbox kind of has their Spider-Man on their hands with the quality of a game like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, it's not going to have that level of pull. And I mean, we saw this last year, even with that fifth Indiana Jones movie. It just seems like this is a franchise that for some reason just isn't able to capture as large an audience as it once did, despite it being, so like, I don't know, it's weird. It's like, you would think that with an Indiana Jones movie coming out last year and a really excellent Indiana Jones game coming out this year, it would have like that kind of like Indiana Jones version of like in 2015 when Force Awakens came out and Star Wars had a revitalization, but that didn't really happen for Indy. And I don't know. I wonder, is there some kind of stink on Indiana Jones by way of being associated, Lucasfilm and Star Wars and Disney and all that? Like, is there some kind of like some secondhand fatigue that comes with being associated with all that Star Wars churn? Or is this just like an IP that's like, we don't really need this to come back? I don't know. But it really breaks my heart to see that, of course, this game just doesn't, we don't know for certain, but it really seems like it's not doing great on a commercial scale. And I think that's such a shame because this game is really so great. The villain is super awesome. Troy Baker's performance as Indy is just fucking incredible. The facial animations and just the characters in this game, so well written, so impressive looking. It felt like a really nice 14-hour Indiana Jones movie that definitely doesn't feel 14 hours. I mean, I lingered on some of these areas and I did side quests, and the side content in this game is so good. It feels just as good as the main quest line stuff. Like it's worth your time to do your side quests in this game. I didn't like 100% collect everything, but I took my time to experience side content, to explore locations, and then go through main content because this game is just, it's really good. All of it's really good. I love the stealth. I see a lot of people complaining about the stealth, like the AI being pretty bad in this game. I think that's not a problem at all. I don't know why the fuck you want the stealth to be too challenging in a fucking game that's aimed at a huge audience base. I mean, it's Indiana Jones, for Christ's sake. You don't want all the casuals and normies who wouldn't normally play a stealth game to be like, oh, Indiana Jones has a video game? Fuck it. I can't do this stealth. It sucks. I keep getting spotted. Like, you have to kind of dumb it down to make it more palatable for general audiences. And for someone like me who likes stealth but doesn't love stealth, I thought the enemy AI was perfect. It didn't ever piss me off. And there was definitely some challenge to some moments of the game, but for the most part, the combat, the AI, the stealth was never really too much of a threat to me. It was just really just a fun adventure and a nice breeze of a game the way I played it. So really, really love this game. I'm sure it will come up in conversation from time to time as we continue to talk about Xbox and in the full context of the brand and everything. I'm sure this game will come up a lot when we talk about Xbox games that were just fucking awesome, but just didn't pull in the audience. In fact, I feel like in the opportunity for it to be the next Halo, Gears of War type game for Xbox, it actually ends up being the next Sunset Overdrive or Quantum Break, where it's like, what we have here is an excellent video game that's going to do really well critically and just super underperform commercially while people play fucking Marvel Rivals or some shit. I say that as someone who's playing Marvel Rivals right now, but I really love this game. I would have had so much more to say about it had we talked about it 2 weeks ago, but since then I've played a whole lot of Batman and Marvel Rivals, so we'll transition to that. So second game I've been playing this past few weeks has been Batman Arkham Origins. So you may recall, if you've been listening for a while, last year One of my big projects was I want to get through the Batman Arkham series. I've tried to start Batman Arkham Asylum many times before, and then last year around Christmas time, around December, I said, no, enough is enough. I'm doing it. I got the trilogy on sale on my Xbox Series X, and I was like, I'm gonna get through these games. So for like the 100th time, I started Arkham Asylum, and I finally got myself to play through. And once I got through the first few hours, I really got sucked into that game. I like Arkham Asylum a lot. I have a lot of great things to say about that game. Then I moved right on into Arkham City, and I liked that game a lot too. And then I moved right on into Arkham Knight, and I liked that game even more. That one was my favorite one. And I played those games basically all throughout like December last year, December, January. And then right after that, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League came out, and I was like, yeah, let me play this. Roll right into the brand new Rocksteady Batman whatever game. So I just kind of like rolled through the whole Arkham franchise as far as Rocksteady is concerned. And I left out Batman Arkham Origins, the 2013 EA, not EA, WB Montreal developed spin-off game. Not because I didn't want to play it, but because this game is really hard to get your hands on to experience, because while it is backwards compatible on Xbox, you cannot buy it digitally, and it was never included in the remaster collection. So you have to own a physical copy of the game in order to play it, and I wasn't going to do that. I was going to go buy a physical copy. So what I did was I thought about trying to play it on the Wii U just because I wanted an excuse to go back to my Wii U and experience that. But I didn't do that. What I ended up doing was I bought it on sale for like a couple bucks on Steam. And I said, you know what I'll do, because I know this game takes place on Christmas Eve, and it's like a wintry Christmas game. I'm going to save this for next year because I enjoyed my playthrough of the Batman Arkham trilogy so much. I'm going to put this one on the shelf since it's a spin-off. It's a prequel. It's kind of unrelated to these three games in a way. I'm going to put it on the shelf, and then next year in 2024 for the holiday season, I'll have this as like a little Christmas treat to play. And so that's exactly what I did, and I'm so glad I did this, because immediately once I got into this game, I was reminded how much fun I had last year playing the Batman Arkham trilogy, and knowing that there was one more game I'd never experienced in this series to go through was such a fucking treat. I'm so glad I did it this way. And I beat this game. So I put 21 hours into the game on Steam. I beat the game at the 13-hour mark, and I beat the game in 2 sittings. I played one Sunday for like all fucking day, and then the next weekend I played all Saturday the whole day, or maybe it was on New Year's Eve, I don't remember. But it was like 4 or 7 days later or something like that. I played it in 2 sittings, and I adore this game. I don't know if this is a hot take. I know there's been a lot of revisionist history on this game, and people are softening up to it in retrospect, because this game got a lot of shit. They have Roger Craig Smith, who's the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog, doing the voice of Batman, which was a controversial thing. And then they had Troy Baker doing the voice of Joker in this game, so it's not the regular Batman cast. And so that was like a whole controversial point. And it's a game that was originally in development by Rocksteady, and then they gave the game over to WB Montreal so they could get to work on Batman Arkham Knight. And then WB Montreal was like, okay, we'll make it this prequel game, and they kind of did their own thing. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's not a real Batman Arkham game. It's not maybe like Rocksteady, but it's like, no, but it's in the universe. It's in the story. It's like the whole BioShock 2 thing, where some people are like, BioShock 2 is not real BioShock. It's like, shut the fuck up. Yes, it is. Or, something like that. But man, I just gotta say it. I think Batman Arkham Origins might be my second favorite Batman Arkham game. I know people love City. City, the second one, is the most loved in the franchise. I think this one's my second favorite. Knight is my favorite because I just love that experience. It's such, the gameplay is so refined in it, but the experience of that, how fucking beautiful and next gen cinematic that game felt on the Xbox One. It is such a huge leap and bounds step up from what the first 2 games were. But I think when it comes to second place, this game goes right in. I think, in fact, I would go as far as to say Batman Arkham Origins is my favorite Batman Arkham game from a gameplay standpoint. I just had the most fun with this game. It felt like a very video game. Like, this is the most like fun Batman video game. Batman Arkham Knight is like the most fun Batman experience. But, oh man, I just had such a great time with this. I love the Christmas Eve setting, Blackgate prison. This bad guy breaks out, and these 8 hitmen are gonna like take out Batman. And it's this like younger, more less refined Batman who the cops don't trust yet. Gotham PD doesn't trust him yet. He's kind of like loose and he's rough, and he doesn't really have his like whole like persona like kind of worked out. His suit's a little more rudimentary and all this stuff. I fucking love it. It's a really cool premise. And then on top of all of that, the gameplay is just so fun. So it's like Arkham City, it's open world and all that, but it just feels like it's so much more gameplay focused. Like it's more mechanic focused. Like there's less time onboarding. There's less time like explore the city. There's more time that's just like missions, combat, cutscene, cool stuff, set piece, action. Like, and it's just like the pacing in this game felt so fucking good. Now I will say this game has issues, particularly from a story standpoint. There's these 8 assassins that are after you, and you only really fight like 2 of them in the whole game. Some of them get like locked up in cutscenes. Some of them like get like die or something like that. And then 2 of them you fight like Deadshot and Shiva. You fight them in side missions. You don't even fight them in the main game. So it's like, there's a really cool premise where it's like, oh, Black Mask is this villain. He's got these 8 bounty hunters who are gonna like go after Batman and try to kill him. It's a really cool setting. And then like 4 or 5 hours into the story, it's like, plot twist, it's actually Joker, and now this game is just about Batman versus Joker. And even though those moments are still really good, it's like they just kind of abandoned this really cool idea of like these 8 bounty hunters attacking Batman in favor for like, oh, it's Batman versus Joker and their origin story of how they met. So I had a lot of fun. I think the writing is a little rougher in this game, and I think the story feels a little less like gritty and refined. It feels a little more goofy and video gamey. But I think that is to this game's advantage. I feel like this game has the perfect balance of like being a true Batman Arkham game while also just being a little bit more of a video game and being a little bit more lowbrow, but in the most fun and complimentary way. I mean that. And I really adore this game. Like once I rolled credits, I spent another 7 hours playing the DLC, the Cold Heart, and exploring the map and taking off some boxes and doing some more. And honestly, I might go back and play a little bit more of this game. I didn't uninstall it yet. I'm still having fun. I really love Batman Arkham. It's just, dude, it's so great. It's so great. And this game has one of my favorite things that you can get in a superhero video game, which is that all the generic goons and thugs that you fight throughout the game say really funny and stupid like one-liners when you're fighting them. For example, there's this one guy, there's this one combat encounter I had where it's like, it's like you walk in, like the enemies are like, oh, look who came to play. They got like their fucking baseball bats and their gloves and shit, and they're ready to fight Batman. And Batman puts up his fist, and the guy looks at me and goes, looks like someone brought a bat to a knife fight. Like, what the fuck does that mean? And then there was one encounter I had where I was fighting these guys, and I kicked the guy, and the guy goes, oh, Batman, I hate you. And I'm like, yeah, fuck yes, this is peak video game. Dude, sometimes I miss it. Like games are just so serious and so highly produced. Sometimes I miss video games. I miss like 2004 Treyarch Spider-Man 2. I miss the goofiness. I miss like, oh, if I flip these pizzas, Mr. Aziz is gonna flip out. Like I just miss goofy video game nonsense. And this game strikes a perfect balance of like being a refined Xbox 360, Xbox One era like AAA licensed video game while also maintaining some PS1, PS2 era, cheap knockoff licensed video game goofiness. And it just, it's the marriage of it is so good. I really truly love this game. As someone who's just like arbitrarily just started appreciating a lot of DC characters and video games and stuff and movies in recent years, very recent years, I think like, as you know, I grew up in the age of like Batman the animated series and all this stuff, but I didn't care about any of that. I didn't watch that stuff. I didn't like, the only DC thing I ever gave a shit about was Static Shock. So like, to me, like, I'm discovering all that stuff now, and to me, like, the Batman Arkham video games, that's Batman. That's like my Batman. That's my peak Batman right there. I fucking love, what is it, Kevin Conroy, may he rest in peace. I know people were pissy that he wasn't the voice actor for this game. It wasn't him and what's his Luke Skywalker's name? Fucking, why am I blanking on it? But you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's like, dude, I just, such a stupid nitpick. I feel like sometimes gamers will look for such random excuses to be upset. I hate that shit. Like when people are bitching about Starfield and they're just like, well, the problem is it's just a loading screen simulator. Like my brother-in-law was telling me that or my stepbrother was telling me that the other day. I'm like, Get out of here with that shit, bro, boy. Like the fucking YouTuber said this. Let me adopt that as my opinion now. Sorry, I'm not trying to be a dick to you out there, Trevor. Anyway, God, let's drop it. I just want to say, Indiana Jones, I fucking love that game. Batman Arkham Origins, I think I fucking love that game even more. I really love that game. That game's and to the fact where I think this might be like. Maybe I'll try to do a tradition where I play this every Christmas. I don't know. Maybe do a quick playthrough every Christmas. I feel like this could be a fun Christmas tradition game. I really love this game. But that's it for Batman. Now, there's one more game I've been playing, and I really wasn't expecting this to happen. So I downloaded Marvel Rivals as soon as it came out about a few weeks ago. Because I was like, why not? It's free to play. I've really been in a superhero kick lately. I've been reading a lot of Marvel comics. I've been really jonesing to play like a Marvel Ultimate Alliance type game. This might scratch some itch for me. Plus, the thing about Marvel Rivals is, despite the fact that it's a NetEase game and all that, there's no denying Marvel Rivals has a fucking kick-ass art style. Like oh, it's so good. I hate Wolverine in this game. I hate their design for Wolverine. But aside from that, pretty much every character in this game looks so fucking good. The art style is so good. So I finally gave Marvel Rivals a try. I gave it like a fake try a couple weeks ago, and then I gave it a real college try this time. And here's Jesse the hypocrite moment right now, okay? Because like I have made my name on this podcast for 5+ years, ragging on Overwatch. Overwatch sucks. All the anime weeby ass porn, all the weird fucking Overwatch fans. I don't like Overwatch. Why do people love Overwatch? This game is just Overwatch slightly evolved, and for some reason, I really like this game. I'm having a blast with this game. I'm not good with like the character role hero shooter thing. So I'm kind of playing like a cheap, easy character. Right now, my go-to is Venom. And then when I'm not playing Venom, I go to Captain America. I've only played as like 5 or 6 different characters, so I haven't really explored the roster too deeply. But right now, Venom and Captain America are kind of my go-to characters. And I just fucking love this game. It's so good. I love watching it. It's just a game I love to look at. I love seeing this art style and these character designs and watching them all clash together and unleash their powers and stuff. It's so fucking cool. I like the maps. I don't think they're like super impressive, but I like the idea of like these progressive maps that take place in various locations throughout Wakanda, and then one that takes place throughout Asgard. And they just announced they're doing I think like a Fast and Furious, a Fantastic Four level or something like that. Like I'm fucking hyped for this stuff. It's really working for me right now. I think it's just the right game at the right time, pretty much. But I'm really feeling this game. The combat is like, it's easy to pick up and play. It's easy to feel like you're doing something, even if you're not particularly good. But at the same time, it's like a game where you can tell it's like, oh, okay, there's a way to get really deep into this and really master it. And I know anyone listening who's ever played Overwatch is like, yes, Jesse, you're describing a hero shooter right now. I know, but I don't play a lot of these games, so I have to like be bewildered and impressed by the fact that this is like a new experience for me. Although I did play Overwatch 2. I put a couple hours into Overwatch 2, and I've played Overwatch 1 at like friends' houses and stuff back when it came out. So like, it's not like I have no exposure to this stuff. It's just I didn't give a shit about it then. But slap a couple Marvel IP over some anime titty girl, and then all of a sudden this is like a dream come true. So I'm loving this game. The fucking winter event they do with Jeff the Shark, where it's like basically just like Splatoon's gameplay mechanics, but as Jeff the Shark. Fucking love it. It's so good. It's so much fun. Yeah, I'm having a total blast with this game. Also, it's just my girlfriend was watching me play it a little bit. I was like, damn, look how good the skins are that they're selling in the store. They had like this like a abominable snowman, like Venom skin. I was like, fuck, I'm not going to spend $20 on this shit, but goddamn, that looks really cool. And I was like, you know what I really appreciate about this game is it's like, because it's limited to being Marvel, I don't have to worry about like the Fortnite effect where it's like, oh, there's like Bill Nye the Science Guy and like Kevin Conroy, the corpse of Kevin Conroy, like riding in a Cybertruck together, getting sniped by the Michelin Man or something like that. It's like, oh, it's fucking normal. I don't have to worry about, Zooey Deschanel and fucking Zendaya fighting over Tobey Maguire or who's the Tom Holland. I don't know. All the characters, it's weird. Like, I know people like Fortnite, to each their own. I'm not here to like rag on what you like, but I can't get over it in Fortnite. The cultural like crossover vomit of that game is I know for a lot of people it's like amusing and it's entertaining, it's funny, and that's awesome. For me, it's like it's a turn off and I can't get into it. So like, I don't know, especially as someone who plays Call of Duty, it's like I appreciate rather than the skins being like Snoop Dogg and Nicki Minaj in Squid Games. The fact that it's just all Marvel, and I'm really enjoying it. The art style is amazing. The character designs are amazing. The levels look pretty. The gameplay is just fun. I love watching this game in action. It's a great turn off your brain multiplayer experience, and I feel like this is something I can get a lot of enjoyment out of as I kind of coast between now and when Spider-Man 2 comes to PC, because that's my next big game, and then after that, we get Avowed. So I'm like trying to figure out, I got Spider-Man at the end of January, and then we got Avowed in the mid-February, but like between now and then, I'm like, a little bit of Marvel Rivals. Could I fit a Yakuza game in between now and then? That would be a stretch goal, but I'm wondering if maybe I can do that. I don't know. So this is kind of where I am with video games right now. It's been a good time. It's a weird thing I've noticed about the cold months. It's like, even though it doesn't really get cold here in Florida, it's like a weird thing. It's like my brain just kind of like flips on this switch where cold months equal stay home and play video games. I go out less. I go to fewer places. I dine at fewer restaurants. I go to the theme parks less often. I want to stay home, cozy up, watch a movie, and play Xbox. It's all I want to fucking do on the weekends when it's like the winter months. There's just something about the holiday season. It's just so nice to listen to a podcast and play a couple rounds of Marvel Rivals. So that's it for what I've been playing. Indiana Jones, Batman Arkham Origins, Marvel Rivals. I played a little bit of Helldivers 2, that new update that they just did, which is really cool, but I'm not here to talk about it. I didn't do that much of it. But really, that's it for what I've been playing. So let's take a quick break here and then hop into all this news, and then we'll do the comments. All right, we have like 13 news items now. This has actually kind of grown a little bit, but again, it's a lot of smaller things, so we're not going to linger on these too much. But let's just first piece of news. Let's start off with like more Xbox centric stuff. Like more like Microsoft related news. Start off with this whole Game Pass losing sales kind of thing. Okay, from VGC. VGC is, I think, like the only source we really have this week. But Xbox games included in Game Pass can reportedly expect to lose up to 80% of their predicted premium sales. According to business journalist Christopher Dring, who added that for multi-platform titles, inclusion of Game Pass can drive PlayStation 5 sales. Speaking as part of a Q&A for Install Base forums, Dream was asked his thoughts about Game Pass and its impact on the market, to which he said, anecdotally, games that are in Game Pass can expect to lose about 80% of their expected premium sales on the Xbox platform. That's the figure that gets thrown around. It's less of if it makes a big it's less if it makes a big mainstream release, but generally, look at how low Hellblade 2 charted, or where Indiana Jones came, or even Starfield. Game Pass clearly hurt the sales of those titles on Xbox. Well, let's, side note, that's a no fucking brainer, of course, because your core audience is going to get these through Game Pass. No fucking shit, right? But let's move on. It gets more interesting. But if it's a game on multi-platforms, it can be beneficial. That surge in players on the Xbox can have a strong impact on sales on PlayStation, for instance. So Dring goes on to see how he feels torn on the effectiveness of the subscription models and how it's highly dependent on the game and genre, saying that trying to be an indie game on Xbox is just not a good time, but then again, that's kind of how it is everywhere. So trying to get a person to buy your game in 2024 or 25 is so hard, and subscriptions get games for lots of people. So we know that from data that there are a lot of people who only play Call of Duty, and that some of those people that only play Call of Duty this year got Call of Duty through Game Pass, and those very same people took the opportunity to play some other games on Game Pass as well, games they wouldn't have otherwise played. So it's hard to argue that it's a bad thing. So here's the thing. I think like the positive note, I think could be something like this, and we'll see a lot more of this as Xbox continues to put all their games on PlayStation. I think having a game like Indiana Jones come out on Xbox, not do particularly well with the sales, but get a lot of players through Game Pass and draw a lot of positive attention through reviews, can garner a lot. It's like a really, really, really positive preview coverage for a game, right? So if you're a PlayStation player and you have no interest in playing games on PC or Xbox, you might be looking at this saying, damn, that sounds really good. I'm definitely going to pick this game up when it comes to PlayStation in a few months. And then that might bolster the sales of the game once it hits PlayStation. Or, seeing a game that maybe doesn't have a lot going for it, like a lot of hype around it, like a game like, I don't know, Kinitsugami, Path of the Goddess, that Xbox helped fund and it launched in a Game Pass this summer, but otherwise the game really didn't do all that well. Like maybe the added player interaction, the added buzz of people playing it on Game Pass despite not buying it on Xbox, might have added more chatter and buzz around the game in general, which in turn then led more people to be like, yeah, I hear this game's pretty fun, or I hear this game's pretty interesting. I'm going to go check it out. And that's like PlayStation players going and buying it. So you wonder if that almost becomes a thing where Game Pass has this really positive effect for PlayStation and then just has a positive effect on games in the sense that it gets more people talking about your game, which is, the conversation is everything these days. So it's like, is the sacrifice of making money on the Xbox platform worth the added marketing and exposure bump that you get from Game Pass games, just bringing your game to a larger audience? So that's a really interesting conundrum. I mean, obviously from the perspective of Xbox, do they make money? No, of course not. No one fucking bought Call of Duty on Xbox. No one bought Starfield on Xbox. They got it through Game Pass, and Microsoft didn't make shit for money on those games on those platforms, regardless of what people tell you. So I mean, that's just the long and short of it. But can you sell it on PC? Can you sell it on PlayStation? Well, that's where the money is to be made, right? So just thought that was an interesting anecdote as we kind of start out the conversation of this year, because this year is going to be a continuation of like, is Game Pass a good thing for Xbox or a bad thing for Xbox? Are there going to be more layoffs? What's the industry look like? I think 2025 is going to continue on this story, this narrative, and it's going to evolve this narrative of the game subscription thing, and if it's a good thing for the industry. And the industry's in a little bit of a dark place, a lot of bit of a dark place right now, and so I just this is going to be a part of that conversation. I think the thing is, it's so obvious that Game Pass is like not the best thing for Xbox, but you cannot put the genie back in the bottle, and they have to believe in it, and they have to invest in it. That's their only choice at this point. So I don't know. I still do secretly wish for the alternate universe where Game Pass never happened and Xbox just kind of remained this second place competitor to PlayStation, like they were throughout the majority of the Xbox One generation, because that would be my ideal situation. But nonetheless, here we are. All right, let's move on because there's a lot of them here. So continue with Xbox. On a more positive note, we got some more speaking on behalf or in regards to the Xbox handheld that we're all heavily anticipating. So Microsoft once again talking about their yet to be announced handheld, claiming it will combine the best of Xbox and Windows. As attended by The Verge, Microsoft's VP of Next Generation, Jason Ronald, took part of a roundtable talk at CES titled The Future of Gaming Handhelds, where he shared further details about Microsoft's planned portable, where he says, quote, "We've been really innovating for a long time in the console space, and as a partner across the industry, it's really about how do we bring those innovations that we've incubated and developed in the console space and bring them to PC and then bring them to handhelds." The Verge spoke to Ronald following the roundtable and its potential on the Xbox handheld, and he said further, "I would say it's about bringing the best of Xbox and Windows together, because we have spent the last 20 years building a world-class operating system, but it's really locked to a console. What we're doing here is really focused on how do we bring those experiences for both players and developers to broaden the Windows ecosystem." So that's careful with that. He added, "I think at the end of the day, our goal is to make Windows great for gaming on any device. The reality is that Xbox operating system is built on top of Windows. So there's a lot of infrastructure that we built in the console space that we can bring to PC space, and we really deliver that premium gaming experience on any device." Ronald says the goal of the handheld is to create an experience that puts Xbox at the center of its focus, and not the Windows desktop that you have today. So to read that last sentence again, because I think it's key, and then we'll discuss a little bit. Ronald says the goal of the handheld is to create an experience that puts Xbox at the center of its focus, not the Windows desktop that you have today. But he's talking about marrying Windows and Xbox, Windows and Xbox. Keep in mind, this is a Microsoft VP. This isn't like this isn't like a Phil Spencer or Sarah Bond. So he's more talking about the company as a whole and like all their prospects and all their brands and everything. But it seems like and we're seeing in the news this week as well, Xbox is talking about trying to overhaul the PC client for Xbox to try and make a more streamlined operating system that syncs between like mobile devices and iPads and PCs and consoles and everything. And so I feel like this is kind of some early talk and some verbiage we're going to see continue to be used from Microsoft as we try to transition away more and more from Xbox as their only gaming thing and more towards this like ambiguous whole Microsoft is gaming thing, where it's like, yeah, Microsoft gaming, Windows PCs, tablets, iPhones, whatever, video games, Microsoft, cloud streaming, Microsoft, and we move away from Xbox more and more as a brand. Now, will this device be an Xbox device? Probably. Will this device probably look like some kind of Xbox dashboard? Yeah, probably. I'm not saying this is a device they're going to try to get you to use Microsoft Office on, but they are very focused on gaming as an initiative, playing anywhere, and kind of being like, hey, Windows, Microsoft, focusing on taking these things and marrying them together. It's like, that's a little weird. It's like, what? So you're saying that this isn't going to... I wonder if we can take this as like, they say the best of Windows and Xbox. So is this not going to be just a device used to play your Xbox games on the go? Or is this going to be like, yeah, you can also access your Steam library on this. You can also access the Epic Game Store on this. You can access RuneScape on this. You can access the fucking Android App Store. Who fucking knows? The Google Play Store, whatever it's called. I just feel like they're basically hinting at like, this is going to be an Xbox handheld, but it's going to do a lot more than just play Xbox. And what does that mean for the console? Does that mean eventually the console becomes this thing where it's not just, yeah, you can play Xbox games on your Xbox, but eventually talk about like getting Steam on Xbox and making it more of a Windows-based platform, even though of course the Xbox OS already is based on Windows and built off of Windows, trying to make it more of a coherent thing and less of a like, this is an Xbox, this is a PC, more of like this is a Microsoft gaming device, and kind of bleed that PC experience into the handheld and console space. I think that's kind of what he's hinting at here, and I think that's kind of fucking wild. This is that early talks. Like, don't keep lying to yourself. This is eventually going to become like the Microsoft gaming thing. This is what happens when Game Pass and Activision have to take over the entire vision of the brand. So let's continue on here, guys. So next up, development costs for several Call of Duty titles have been revealed for the first time, with a claim that the first-person shooter can cost anywhere from $450 to $700 million to develop. According to GameFile, development figures for Black Ops 3, Modern Warfare 2019, and Black Ops Cold War have been published for the first time, part of a court filing. So Activision's current head of creative of the Call of Duty franchise, Patrick Kelly, in a court filing, claimed that for Black Ops 3, which was released in 2015, Treyarch developed the game over the course of 3 years with a creative team of hundreds of people and invested $450 million to develop that game's life cycle. For Modern Warfare 2019, so, 4 years later, a remake of the beloved 2007 shooter, Infinity Ward developed the game over several years and spent over $640 million to develop costs throughout the game's life cycle. Now, remember, a lot of that was probably because they basically reworked the whole COD engine. Warzone. But most recently, for Black Ops Cold War, which was released in 2020, Treyarch and Raven Software took years to create the game with a team of hundreds of creatives, which ultimately spent over $700 million in development costs over the game's life cycle. Now, that could have something to do with the fact that the game was originally being developed by Sledgehammer and then got forced to change hands, and so there's a lot of development hell with that game. But still, oh my God. So for comparison, it was revealed that thanks to poorly redacted court documents, that the development costs of The Last of Us Part 2, Sony's premier single-player franchise that released in 2020, It's 20. That The Last of Us Part 2's budget was around $220 million, which was seen as the most significant game investment at the time. Rumors say that Halo Infinite could have been anywhere upwards of $500 million to develop. So, needless to say, we talk about game budgets getting out of control, ballooning. For Call of Duty, it's somewhat sustainable because that thing can be microtransaction to hell and back, and people play it forever, and it sells so many millions of copies. But for games like The Last of Us, for games like Fable, we talk about Fable being an expensive game that's been in development forever. These single-player experiences that don't have microtransactions and multiplayer attached to them, it's like, this is just not a sustainable way to make video games. $220 million, I mean, like, if we stop there, maybe? But, like, oh my God, games becoming 300, 400, 500. I mean, we've seen movies have budgets of $200 million, right? We don't see movies with budgets of $700 million. Like, this is absolutely insane. It's just fucking unfathomable. It's so egregious. And so, I mean, again, as we look at the year 2025 ahead of us, this is something that's going to paint a lot of the conversation this year. The ballooning of game development costs, prices, and the fact that the games industry has just become unsustainable. People can't stay employed. Games keep getting canceled. Teams keep going out of business. layoffs happening left and right, and these budgets are just not sustainable. You cannot make these games for $4, $5, $6 million, $100 million and then expect just to get the sales to justify that development cost, because you just have to have heavy hitters. You're saying that there's no room for a game to be anything other than a massive success in order to really justify these development costs, and that's just so insanely unsustainable. But here's some good news. So speaking about Call of Duty, some silver lining here, some positive news regarding the franchise. Call of Duty World at War, also known as the best Call of Duty ever made, and Singularity are reportedly coming to Game Pass next year. Or probably this year. This was at the end of 2024. That's according to Xputer and eExtras1, who has a strong track record of revealing upcoming Game Pass titles. Writing on Twitter, he claimed that Treyarch's 2008 World at War will be available on Game Pass around May of this year, and Raven Software's 2010 FPS Singularity is expected to hit Microsoft subscription services in the same month, according to that user. Now, I don't know if Singularity is backwards compatible, so will that only be on PC, or how will that work? I'm very curious, but nonetheless, this is really exciting. We're starting to get some of the better Call of Duty games, including Game Pass. So all we got to get is really just Black Ops 1, 2, and World at War, and that's it. All right, next up, I thought this one was going to be read earlier, but I guess it got buried a little bit with some of these newer stories. VGC relays that Rare have published the first new Everwild art in nearly 3 years, suggesting that they could potentially be ramping up for pre-release marketing for the game this year. Rare announced a new IP in November 2019 and released another trailer back in 2020, but updates on the game have since been rare. However, fans have finally gotten a glimpse of the game this week via Rare's Instagram Christmas card, which features a festive-themed Everwild art of a tree all decorated with those weird deer creatures staring at it. So it says Happy Holidays from Rare. But hopefully what this means is like, hey, this is the year where we start talking about Everwild again, because Everwild was announced in 2019. It's been 5-6 fucking years by the time we get to this E3 or this summer showcase. Not only that, but we know the game kind of got rebooted in development around 2021, I think it was. So this game has kind of restarted, but still, the development timeline, you think about, they may have started this game possibly in some early stages shortly after Sea of Thieves launched. That was 2017, 2018, 2017. So, it's been 7-8 years. It's time for Rare to really do something new here. And so hopefully this is the year where we see more of Everwild. I'm very curious to learn more about this game. So God, I really hope that's the case. But yeah, that's a little positive note there. Now time for some sad news. This one has me really sad, you guys. So this is from Splash Damage, video game developer Splash Damage. This is their Twitter. They posted a tweet that said, an update on Transformers Reactivate. Now, for context, Transformers Reactivate was announced for consoles and PC in December at the Game Awards in the year 2022, so 2 years ago. Transformers Reactive is a 1-to-4 player co-op action game. It being developed by Gears Tactics and Wolfenstein Enemy Territory developer London-based Splash Damage, who actually did the multiplayer for that Batman game I just played. I don't think the multiplayer is online anymore. But anyway, here's the update they posted on Twitter. It says, Studio Update. Today we have some very difficult news to share. The decision has been made to end development on Transformers Reactivate. This means that we will be scaling down to refocus our efforts on other projects. Unfortunately, despite our efforts, a number of roles across the studio are now potentially at risk of being redundancies. This decision did not come lightly, and it is a difficult time for the studio and our people. We want to take a moment to thank the team who worked on Transformers and for their dedication and passion. Hasbro has been an incredible supportive partner throughout the experience, and we hope to work with them again. To many fans, your excitement and support helped keep us going. While not being able to get this game through to the finish line or to release is painful, having to say goodbye to friends and colleagues hurts even more. Now we're focused on doing everything we can to support them through this time period, just as we are committed to caring for those who will stay with us as we build a stronger Splash Damage for the future. Thank you for your understanding and compassion. All right. Obviously, the story we've been hearing for over a year now, the layoffs, the industry suffrage, it fucking sucks. I hate it. Of course, you feel for the people who are going to be affected by this and hope that everything works out for them. Now, I don't mean to be callous and to just sweep it under the rug and move on, but that's unfortunately not really the story here, just because everyone's expecting layoffs and that's experiencing layoffs, and that's seemingly all we ever really talk about anymore. So there's just really not much to say on specifically that front, other than just the the generic fucking corporate American media thoughts and prayers kind of response to the people who are affected. And then we get into the news that Transformers Reactivate has been canceled. God damn, this one sucks, man. I've been so excited about this game. I've been so looking forward to a AAA proper Transformers game. I mean, I'm like, where is our Transformers game that does to that IP what Batman Arkham does to Batman, what the Spider-Man games do to Spider-Man, what, you know, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle does to Indiana Jones. Like, what the fuck, man? We get so many of these throwaway, shitty-ass little, like, slap-together licensed cash grabs in the Transformers space. Still to this day, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Transformers, these kinds of franchises still get this stuff. But what about our proper AAA Transformers game? Man, I was really excited about this game. I wonder if it just wasn't coming together or if funding was just I don't know, but this makes me so disappointed. And yeah, man, so not really a whole lot to say, but it's just tough, man. I mean, these licenses are expensive to work with. These teams need lots of money to justify working on these projects for 5-6 years as these budgets balloon and these games take forever to make. And it's just, yeah, it fucking sucks. We need to go back down to smaller budgets and lower expectations for not like the game. I'm not saying like gameplay needs to be, we need to have lower expectations for what gameplay can be, but it's like, I don't know, like we need to have lower expectations for like how much content a game should have, how big an open world is, how high the production value is. Those things need to get fucking tampered down on, because like I swear to God, this it's so unsustainable. It's like, oh, we need a $400 million Transformers game that looks better than anything you've ever seen before. It's like, why can't we just have a really good mechanic focused, interesting, compelling Transformers game like we used to get the Xbox 360 era? Rest in peace. So Splash Damage, thoughts with you guys, of course, and sorry to all the Transformers fans like myself who are now profoundly disappointed. All right, this one's really funny. I love this fucking shout out. So the U.S. government has added Chinese gaming giant Tencent to a blacklist of companies it believes are linked with the Chinese military. While the Pentagon's designation carries no specific sanctions, it discourages American companies from dealing with its members, which I think this is fucking awesome that we have this blacklist. So the blacklist originates from an executive order in 2020, which prevented U.S. companies from investing in companies with ties to Chinese military. So yeah, basically this is on this list where it says Tencent is a company we believe has ties to the Chinese military, which is fucking true. I mean, we know that Tencent is a company comprised of an overwhelming number of people that are CCP members. This is like a bell we've been ringing and talking about on this podcast for years. It was a big story, 2-3 years ago. We talked a lot about on this podcast. Like, kind of fucking sucks that this seedy corporation run by fucking fuckboys in a really shitty government is kind of like creeping in and being like, oh, we'll give you money for a new Marvel game. Oh, we'll give you money to this developer who worked on Halo to go make us a game. It's like, we don't want this. We don't want them getting into our media and overthrowing this shit and like owning it all and controlling it all and being like, you can't mention Taiwan in your Marvel game. What if, fucking Shang-Chi can't be Taiwanese or something? I don't know. It's like, you got to be careful. God, that's racist. I don't know what Shang-Chi is. But I'm saying, like, hypothetically, if you had a character, it's like, oh, you don't mention this. Don't talk about Tiananmen Square in your fucking Black Ops game, or we'll fucking kill you. So awesome. So I think it's awesome that the U.S. government acknowledged that and expands. Money talks more than anything, but it's cool to see that, they can take video games seriously enough to include entertainment companies like this onto this blacklist, because I think it's important. But let's read on. So shares of Tencent, the world's biggest gaming company, fell as much as 7% following this news. And Tencent is invested in more than 800 companies, including Epic, Activision, Blizzard, Ubisoft, and a lot more. Speaking to The Verge, a spokesperson from Tencent said that they plan to push back on this designation. And their official response, Tencent's official response, says that they think that this was a mistake and they have sought to have this corrected. They say, as a company, is in neither a Chinese military company nor a military civil fusion contributor to the Chinese defense industrial base, it believes that it believes, talking about itself in the third person, it believes that its inclusion in the Chinese military companies list a mistake, Tencent said. Unlike other lists maintained by the U.S. government for sanctions and export control measures, including on the CMC list, relates only to the U.S. defense procurements, which does not affect the business of the group. The CMC list is a distinct from the non-SDN Chinese military industrial complex list maintained by the U.S. Office of Foreign Asset Control. And inclusion of the CMC list will not prohibit any person from business dealings with the company, including transacting in securities of the company. The company intends to initiate a reconsideration process to correct this mistake. During the process, it will engage in a discussion with the U.S. Department of Defense to resolve any misunderstanding. If necessary, it will undertake legal proceedings to remove the company from the list. The company will make further announcements when the time is appropriate. So that's awesome. This Chinese corporation does not like this listing that the U.S. Department of Defense has designated. Now we will take legal action to try and get us removed from that list. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Why can't the U.S. government make its own blacklist about other governments' companies, about other countries' companies, and other countries' governments, and like you have to take legal action to try and get removed from it? Doesn't that right there it kind of insinuate the problem in and of itself? It's like, what? It's like Apple's like we're gonna sue the Chinese government for putting us on a blacklist. It's like, what are you fucking talking about? That's not your country. It's not your fucking business what they do. Also, what I think is like profoundly hilarious here is just the fact that knowing the U.S. They will then be like, we're gonna threaten to take this to court, and then American politicians will be like, whoa, just pay us off and we'll take you off the fucking list, okay? And they'll be like, yes, here's money. And then the U.S. government will be like, money, we're pieces of shit, and we don't do goddamn things at dick for the U.S. people, the American people, the U.S. of A. And then they will take Tencent off the list, and they will be awesome again. I don't know. I just thought this was funny and kind of badass. The U.S. government, broken clocks right twice a day kind of thing, I guess. But this was pretty funny to see. So I like that. I think that's important that we do these things that, they're not saying you can't do business with Tencent, but they're designating them as like, hey, this is a company that we have good reason to believe has pretty close ties with the Chinese military. It's like, people should fucking know that. Business owners and people who invest in companies should be aware of that shit. That's awesome. That's like one of the rare things where the U.S. government actually for once looks out for the people and does something. So that's pretty fucking cool. Awesome of Tencent to be like, we're going to take legal action if you do that. That's not fair. That's like, I don't know, man. That's like sticks and stone shit. It's like, what do you want to do about that? They didn't do anything. They said some shit and put you on a list. Calm down. It's like getting mad because someone's like texting about you behind your back. It's like, what are you going to do? Give me your phone. Delete that text message. Stop sending nudes to my... I don't know what the fuck. Anyway, this is what I was talking about at the top of the show, though. It's like the co-host would be nice because I'd get a break to like think and talk and breathe. And the co-host would be like, well, here's what I think about the matter, Jesse. But because we don't do that, I'm just like, all right, go, China. Nudes. What was I saying? So it gets so fucking unhinged over time. All right. So Xbox Cloud Gaming, this is the next one, will be coming to LG smart TVs later this year. I have nothing to say to that. They're already available on Samsung TVs, so that's fucking cool. It's expanding. Great. I'm going to delete this next one here about Notch, the creator of Minecraft, saying Minecraft 2 is basically in development. I'm making a game that's essentially Minecraft 2. Whatever, I got nothing to say to that. We'll have to wait and see on that. All right, here we go. Xbox Rewards program is getting a huge overhaul. Game Pass quests are coming to PC. So this is like a huge overhaul for 2025. So Rewards with Xbox enables users to earn points by purchasing games, DLC, and media content from the Microsoft Store, which can then be redeemed for Xbox gift cards or other kinds of gift cards or whatever. So they're making a bunch of changes and bringing some of these features over to PC. And they put some like 18 or under restriction on this content or this rewards program, which I know has some people up in arms with like, what the fuck? I don't know. Does that matter? Who cares? I think it's just because you don't want to pay out minors or something. I don't know. But Game Pass quests, which are currently exclusive to Game Pass Ultimate members, will be made available for PC Game Pass starting on January 7th, which is in the past. So the overhauled system lets Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass members earn points through the following by daily play, weekly streaks, monthly 4-packs, monthly 8-packs, which is essentially gaining points by playing games on a daily basis and then reaching like streaks of like playing multiple times in a week or so many times in a month, and then getting multipliers that give you more and more reward points for you then redeem for Xbox gift cards. This is great. I don't know if these are changes that are for the worse or the better, but time will tell, because I use this shit and I'll know if I'm getting fewer points over time or if it's more or less the same stuff redistributed in a different way. But the Xbox reward program is being overhauled and expanded to include PC Game Pass, which is pretty fucking cool. More value if you're a Game Pass PC subscriber. I saw this one where Black Myth Wukong's director was kind of blaming the Xbox Series S for being the reason why that game hasn't come to Xbox yet. I don't know. I'm so fucking tired of this whole like Xbox Series S is holding everything back discussion. Is that the case? Maybe, probably a little bit. I don't know. I just don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm so fucking tired of it. I feel like we're getting nowhere with it. It's just every couple of months there's a developer who bitches about it, and then that's it. And then on to the next game, but whatever. Here's one. Sega said that they're looking into the possibility of launching a subscription service for video games. I didn't even go through the rest of the story. I just wrote, please, no, stop right there. Don't take all the Yakuza games off of Game Pass so you can do your own subscription service. This is the thing that's going to ruin it, okay? It's like, it makes sense for like a Game Pass, like an Xbox or a PlayStation to do a subscription service, and they get a bunch of third parties in there. It doesn't make sense for Ubisoft and EA and Sega and everyone to do their own subscription service. Listen, stop. You're Paramount Plusing this whole fucking thing. Stop it. Netflix, Hulu, HBO, we're good. We don't need a fucking what is it? Peacock? What's Peacock? We don't need it. Stop. Too specific. Stop. Get away. Peacock is literally just there for bird viewing content in Kung Fu Panda. Like, it's just we don't need it. Stop. Sega, stop. You can stream you can stream what? Sonic and Yakuza. What else? Fucking Metaphor ReFantazio. Get out of here. All right, and our wrap-up story is the Game Pass updates for January. As you can assume, January is kind of a slower month, but we do have some games leaving and coming onto Game Pass, so let's go through them. Available now, Road 96 comes back to Game Pass, Lightyear Frontier, My Time at Sandrock, Robin Hood Shearwood Builders, and Rolling Hills on console are all now on Game Pass. Coming soon, EA Sports UFC 5 will come as a Game Pass Ultimate game on cloud console and PC through EA Play on January 14th. Also on January 14th, the original Diablo comes to PC for Game Pass PC and Ultimate subscribers. Leaving January, however, the following games are leaving the service, so make sure you try them before they're gone on January 15th. You got about a week left. But Common, Hood, Escape Academy, Exoprimal, which is pretty decent, Figment, Insurgency Sandstorm, and Those Who Remain will all leave Game Pass next week on the 15th of January, so make sure you give them a try before they're gone if you'd like to do so. But that, guys, is going to do it for all of our news this week. Now it's time for the best, final, and last segment of the podcast. You know them, you love them, you might even need them. The comments, shout-outs, questions, concerns, youtube.com. You click on the latest episode of the podcast, you go to youtube.com. You search up Xbox on podcast, click on my podcast. It's me, it's the little sad Xbox avatar boy. You click on it and you drop a comment on the latest episode. Don't comment on episode 132. I don't care. Comment on this episode, and you can say something nice. You can say something mean and judgmental. You can say something in between. Don't be a dick to other people. You can be a dick to me. You can challenge me. Don't be a dick to someone else. We've had some of that. We're not doing that shit anymore. Michael writes in. Michael E905. What is this? You a robot, Michael? You a fucking android? You a fucking AI? Are you Chat GPT? Writes in and says, what does Michael say? Oh, I'm scratching my eye, dude. It feels so good. Wearing a lot more glasses these days. A lot less time with the contacts these days. Anyway, Michael writes in and says, came across your podcast today, with this being the first episode I listened to. You're hilarious. I'll be listening from now on, mainly on Spotify, but wanted to leave a message saying I'm a new fan from England. Well, Michael, thank you very much. It's very kind of you. I greatly appreciate the support. I appreciate you taking the time to write in. And yeah, thank you so much for enjoying the show. do I think you're psychotic that you enjoyed the show, that you thought it was hilarious, and that you're going to be listening to me on Spotify, the same place you listen to fucking the same place you're listening to Fast Times at Barrington High from the Academy is? I think you're crazy for doing that, but do I appreciate the hell out of you? Yes, I do. So all the way from Florida to England. I don't know any place in England. They got London over there. They got fucking Chesapeake Bay or something. That's probably like a Massachusetts thing. I don't know. But thank you so much. Appreciate having you here. What a great way to start off 2025. Brand new listener, brand new commenter. Great to have you. Welcome. Now, next up, Mr. Maug writes in, this sexy motherfucker. He's not new. In fact, you might even say he's old. In fact, you might even say he's very old. I don't know, Mr. Maug. Please write in with your age so we can verify whether or not that's true. But Mr. Maug says, I feel like the future of Xbox and Steam are going to switch places. Xbox will be more of a storefront and try to have their games everywhere, where Valve seems to want to try and do Steam Machine consoles again. Where you only play Steam games. I don't know what to say to that. Does Xbox want to become more like Steam? I think undoubtedly that's true. Does Steam want to become more like Xbox/PlayStation? I don't know that that's true. Is that a thing going on in the news? Is Steam talking about bringing back Steam machines or trying to do consoles again? I think that's just kind of a thing they're exploring, like an alter. Here's the thing. Steam Deck is doing pretty damn well for what it is, but it's not selling like a Nintendo Switch or a PlayStation 5. It's not like a serious contender in the market. If you're a gamer like all of us, if you're in the know and you got a big brain when it comes to video games, you know about Steam Deck, you know people like it, you know it's pretty popular. But like if you ask Grandma Fernandez, I don't know what's Grandma's last name. If you ask Grandpa Warschmeyer, I'm trying to think of some various culturally or ethnic variety of names. If you ask Aunt Sally, there you go. There's one for the white people. If you ask your extended family who don't give a shit about video games, hey, what do you know about the PlayStation? They'll be like, I know there's a PlayStation that my little boy plays, and I wish he'd get outside and touch grass. But if you say, what do you know about the Steam Deck? They probably go, what the fuck's a Steam? Oh, the Steam Deck? I think that was a sexual thing we used to do back in the 50s. Yeah, a pretty girl would sit down and you drop a nice hot steamy deck on her, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink. Whoa, Grandpa! Back into the retirement home for you. You got to keep in mind, Steam Deck, while a positive venture for Valve has been like, it's been like a pet project. It's like a side thing. It like doesn't make money for them. Is it a good avenue for money for them? Like, are they making the money in exchange for the Steam Decks? Like, yeah, it's good, but it's not their bread and butter. By and large, Steam is making their money because people buy games on Steam. So it's like a pet project thing. So if they're going to bring back Steam machines or make a console thing, I don't think they're doing it with the intention of trying to compete with like an Xbox or a PlayStation or trying to fully submerge themselves into that market. I think it's more so a way of saying like, hey, if your whole ass library is on Steam and you want more of a console experience or a handheld experience, we got a device for people like you. But for the overwhelming majority, the 95% of you that just want to play Steam on your pre-existing computer and here's the place, yeah, continue to do what you're doing. Keep in mind, apparently, like gaming on PC has started to dip a little bit, and I guess there's more of like a kickback towards the console space a little bit. So this could just be them just trying to future-proof being available in more ways and in more places and to more different consumer tastes in order to just continue to stay dominant. But I wouldn't think that Steam is necessarily like trying to go full, pardon the pun, steam ahead and be like Xbox and PlayStation. But yeah, I think they might try to become a little more like Xbox, and Xbox might try to become a little bit more like Steam. I think that is a true observation, although to the extent at which either one of these companies is doing that, it's debatable. I think Xbox yearns more to be like Steam than Steam yearns to operate like Xbox or even PlayStation for that matter. Mr. Maug, thank you for writing in. I just want to let you know, I still remember the first time you told me you loved me under the bleachers at a high school football game. I will never forget. Cronky writes in and says, I am really curious if Starfield is getting another expansion. Oblivion, Morrowind got 2 each. Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Skyrim had several, but got at least 2 big ones each. So if Starfield doesn't get at least one more, it's safe to say that the game bombed compared to what they were expecting. Yeah. I mean, I don't think Starfield's getting another expansion. I think it's a couple things. Yeah, it's that. It's that the game's not doing as well as they wanted it to do. I think that's obvious. And I think it's also because game development is so fucking tedious. It's like, at this point, it's like, it is a better investment. It is a better use of your time and resources to just move full steam ahead into Elder Scrolls 6 than it is to keep trying to support Starfield, a game that did well enough, had a big player count when it came out, and did well enough with the reviews and everything that it's like, it was a successful game, but it's not Fallout, it's not Skyrim, it's not that tier of, let's not kid ourselves here. Maybe they do another expansion to coincide with when the game inevitably gets ported over to PlayStation, and they'll kind of sell it that way. Like, here's a Game of the Year edition, the expansion's on Xbox, and it's included on PlayStation if you buy this new Game of the Year release. I don't know, maybe that's one way they could do it. Build one more DLC to help market and push the game to PlayStation finally. But barring anything like that happening, I think, yeah, they just move on to Elder Scrolls at this point. Cronky, you also said, my most anticipated game of the year is definitely Outer Worlds 2, but honestly, it looks like it's going to be the best year for Xbox since like 2007. Avowed, Doom, South of Midnight, possibly Fable, but like you, I doubt that. Yeah, but even if we don't get Fabled, yeah, still such a great fucking year. So, yeah, Outer Worlds 2, it's very weird how I feel like normally growing up, you'd be more into like the weird knights and orcs, like fucking nerdy ass, don't take a bath shit. And I'd be more into like guns, hot, sexy babes, robots, and spaceships, like sci-fi stuff. And here we are flipped. I'm more into I'm more Avowed first, Outer Worlds second, and you're more Outer Worlds first, Avowed second. Look at that. Look at that flip. Look at that flip, dude. If this were a Tony Hawk game, I'd say, wow, check out that kick flip to Nada spin. Arctic Chief, one of my favorite chiefs, writes in and says, yo, so I think I missed the cut for the comment section on the previous episode. Haha. If you just want to copy and paste that one, here it is for the episode. Feel free, or don't. That's your choice. I hope you had a great New Year's. No, Arctic Chief. Arctic Chief, you were among one of the biggest OGs. I love you, and I will go above and beyond for you. If you say jump, I will only say I don't know how to jump. But if you say stretch on the floor like a cat and go, oh, I'm not even 30 yet, my back hurts so bad, why do I got neck pain, what's going on here? I will say, how high? Because I'll do anything you tell me to do, Chief. You are the Chief. I might not live in the Arctic, but your love is colder than the absence of my is colder than the absence of anyway, missed. All right, here's what you said. I missed last week for my favorite games in 2024, but I'll mention here my game of 2024 is, drumroll, Shadow Generations. I love the story. I love the gameplay. As for 2025, I'm a huge fan of... Good choice. You want to get right on the show? Say nice things about Sonic. Good choice. As for 2025, I'm a huge fan of Fable, so I hope that the game isn't going to be delayed. Aside from that, I'm mostly excited for Monster Hunter Wilds. We got to play the beta test in October, and it was amazing. Question for you, Jesse, and whoever wants to engage. Do you have a specific game or games that you always go back to when you don't want to dive deep into something? For me, I find myself always going back to Skyrim. I create new characters each time, and I play a few hours, and I call it a day until the next time I'm in the mood. Also, for the more mobile option, I break out the Nintendo DS, and I play Pokemon Heart Gold. This is a great question. This is actually a phenomenal question. I love this question. Heart Gold. Yeah, I was more of a Soul Silver guy, so can't relate to you there, Chief. Yeah, Skyrim. I feel like is definitely what we're really talking about is like a comfort food, right? Like a game you go back to because it's like, oh, I got time to kill. What am I gonna? Yeah, Skyrim. I feel like is a really popular answer. It's a really good one. Skyrim, like a Fallout game, you can get into that and get lost and make some new adventures. I wanted Starfield to be a game like that for me, but I haven't had the time to have a game to jump back into like that. I would say when I was younger, I definitely had more of these. You know, when you're younger and you don't have money, and so you just have to play the same games again and again. I would play Spider-Man 2 for PS2 so many times. I would play Mario Galaxy was a comfort game for me when I was younger that I would just play again and again and again. I think the one that stands out to me always from my youth is Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. That game came out in 2005, and I remember beating it It was right after it was 5th grade. It was like winter break. Dude, that's such a fucking warm fuzzy memory for me in 5th grade. So winter break, it was the last day, the last day of winter break. It's like, oh, we watched a Christmas movie and everyone brought in cookies and we just kind of like had like a chill day at school. And I remember like it was fun. And then I came home and I played Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. I played it on PS2 because that's what we had. And we rented it from Blockbuster. And I remember being like, this is the fucking sickest Tony Hawk game ever. This is like the best Tony Hawk yet. And I loved that game. And that game introduced me to so much of my favorite music. That game is fucking dude, I love that soundtrack so much. It introduced me so many contemporary like punk and emo bands, and then so many retroactively so many like more like classic punk bands. I fucking love that game. But anyway, dude, the Alkaline Trio cover of Wash Away is like one of my favorite songs of all time. Anyway, so I remember playing that game and then falling in love with it, and then getting a Nintendo DS that Christmas, and then using all my saved up money to buy Tony Hawk's American Skateland, which was the totally different but similar Nintendo DS spin-off of American Wasteland, and playing the shit out of that game. And then the next Christmas, my brother had an Xbox 360 by that point, so we ended up buying the game on Xbox 360 at some point, and then I got to play it now in high definition. So between the PS2 version that I used to rent from Blockbuster all the time, the DS version that I played all the fucking time, and now having the Xbox 360 version the next year in 2006, that kind of became like this Christmas special fuzzy game for me, where every year in December I would replay Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. It was like a tradition, had to do it. I probably did that from 2005 until 2000. I did it for a long time. It was probably at least until 2014, 2015. It was like pretty much a solid decade. That was a tradition for me. Wow, I haven't played that game in a long time. But like I know that game so well. I can recite dialogue in it. I can tell you the exact structure of like the missions and how the campaign plays out. I know that, dude. Like I have just weird memories of like stiff like pre mocap era like Tony Hawk just being like in a random street in LA, and you go up to him and you're like trying to save the fucking the pit or whatever, the garbage dump yard that your skate park is trying to get built in, and Tony Hawk's like, if you want to earn my he's like, if you really want to earn my support, he's like, you got to impress me first. He's like, why don't you do like a kickflip to not a spin on that hydra on that fire hydrant over there, and then once I'm done getting my $5 million haircut, I'll meet you back here. And like just stupid shit like that. And like the characters have like the stiff fucking arms and they walk around. And I remember the one guy where like he talks, he's like, oh man, it'd be super fucking sick if you did like a grind to a wall plant, and like his hands just twist around. Like he just has his fingers sticking out and his hands just make like a motion where they shake around each other repeatedly in a circular motion. It's like, what the fuck is, dude, what the fuck was up with character animations in PS2 games? Like, it's just so fucking stupid, and the characters are so stiff and they make the dumbest motions. And I love that game, dude. Listen to fucking Like Eating Glass by Block Party while fucking trying to do the minute long manual or whatever to get the achievement. I love that shit. So that's a huge one for me. That one always sticks out, but I don't really play it anymore. I haven't played that game in many years. So I think nowadays, really, it's like it's something lame. It's always like Call of Duty. It's like, oh, I got time to kill. I don't want to be creative. What do I want to play? Fucking Call of Duty. Just do some multiplayer. Halo's one. Just play some Halo. It's usually something multiplayer. It's turn off your brain, go race a car or shoot a shooty gun. So it's like Halo, Forza, Call of Duty, always something like that. But I feel like there isn't like that game where it's like, oh, there's that single player game I go back to and I re-experience and I steep myself in it. I feel like I said earlier with what I've been playing, I feel like I might make a new Christmas tradition where I play Batman Arkham Origins every year. I might do that because I feel like that'd be a really fun Christmas tradition. But other than that, yeah. Or I'll just dick around. I'll find something on Game Pass and like dick around with something for like 30 minutes. Be like, I'm done with this, and play something else. But yeah, is there something I'm forgetting? I feel like there's something I'm missing here, but I feel like, yeah, it's probably just Halo or Call of Duty. It's really lame like that nowadays. I've become so boring in my old age, Mr. Chief. But thank you for writing in. I do love that question, and I would be very curious to hear other people write in with their anecdotes. Respond to that question as well. Last comment of the week comes from my mother. She says, "Happy New Year, Xbox On." Happy New Year to you, Xbox On mother. Thank you all for listening, for writing in, for taking the time. This is it. That's the show. First episode of the 2025 that was recorded in 2025. That's somewhat normal. We had news. We had what I've been eating, all that stuff. This is Xbox On. This is 2025. Let's take the two and fucking mash them up together like Indiana Jones that time he fucking time traveled in the fifth movie and then was really old. I actually don't mind that at all. I liked that movie. I thought the ending was just really abrupt. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much. Be good, be safe, enjoy your video game time, be good to those you love, eat healthy, but eat well, whatever the fuck that means. Remember, Coke Zero actually tastes better than regular Coke at this point. If you have my palate, that you'll agree with that. And until next time, bury your dreams.